Welcome back to our object-oriented programming course. In our previous lesson, we learned how to create classes and objects using JavaScript. We also learned how to connect an HTML file with an external JavaScript file and create our first student object. Although we already used constructors, properties, and methods, we only introduced them briefly. Today, we will study each of these components in more detail, because they are the foundation of every object-oriented program. By understanding how constructors, properties, and methods work together, you will be able to design objects that accurately represent real-world entities. Every class is made up of three important parts. The first part is the constructor, which initializes the object's data. The second part consists of properties, which store information about the object. The third part contains methods, which define the actions that the object can perform. When these three parts are combined, they form a complete object that stores information and performs useful tasks. A constructor is a special method that automatically runs whenever a new object is created. Its purpose is to initialize the object's data instead of creating an empty object and assigning values one by one. The constructor allows us to provide all the required information immediately. For example, when creating a student, we can supply the student's name and age directly during object creation. This makes our code cleaner, more organized, and less prone to errors. One of the most important keywords in object-oriented programming is this. The keyword "this" refers to the object that is currently being created or used. For example, when we write this .name equal $name, the value passed into the constructor is stored inside the current object's name property. Every object has its own copy of these properties. This means that each student object can have a different name while sharing the same class definition. Properties represent the information or characteristics of an object. For a student, the properties include the student's name, age, and course. Each object stores its own values inside these properties. Although every student follows the same structure, each object contains different information. This allows one class to represent many different students. Creating multiple objects is one of the biggest advantages of object-oriented programming. Using a single class, we can create hundreds or even thousands of objects. Each object has its own identity because it stores different values inside its properties. This makes programs scalable and significantly reduces duplicated code. Methods define the actions an object can perform. Unlike properties, which store information, methods execute code. The introduces method displays information about the student by accessing the object's properties. Because the method uses the keyword "this", the output changes depending on which object calls the method. This allows one method to work with many different objects. To execute a method, we use dot notation. The object name is followed by a period, and the method name with parentheses. Although the same method is called twice, the output is different because each object contains different property values. This demonstrates how object-oriented programming promotes code reuse. This complete program demonstrates the workflow of object-oriented programming. We define a class, initialize object data with a constructor, create objects using the new keyword, store information in properties, and perform actions using methods. These concepts form the core of object-oriented programming and will be used repeatedly as we build larger applications. Today, we explored the three fundamental building blocks of every object-oriented class: constructors, properties, and methods. We also learned how this keyword connects an object's data with its behavior, and how the new keyword creates independent objects from a single class. With these concepts mastered, we are ready to move on to more advanced object-oriented programming techniques.